Hola, hombres and chiquitas. I have no idea if that made any sense or not. I don't speak Spanish. Uh, no muy bueno. That's all I know. If a gay guy ever comes up to me, no muy bueno. I used to get hit on a lot back when I was younger. And you can see why from if you see my picture of me when I was 20, you know, why I got hit on a lot by gay dudes. But no muy bueno. K? No K. Okay. So, anyways, today was a very, very big deal for me, and I felt like it was going to be a waste of time. I knew it was going to be a waste of time, but it was a very big deal for me as far as deciding my fate. Because today, about 15 minutes ago, I got back from the Cleveland Clinic Medina office to see a guy about my knee. Now, of course, I knew I was wasting my time going in there because I could not get them to transfer my medical records to the guy. And, and I had hardly no sleep at all last night due to the stress of this appointment. And popped the volume while I was in there, which did not help my thought process. And I couldn't even think of the name of the doctor that had the MRI. Like, that's not going to help the guy anyway, but it was freaking the doctor out. His name was Scarcella. And he was one of them boom, 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 boom type of doctors. I don't know if you ever been to one of them doctors, but they're like a guy that's been on a road trip for 10 hours and really has to piss, and he doesn't have time for you. It's he's practically jittery waiting to get away from you. So he didn't have time for any of this nonsense. But, I kind of knew it would be a bullshit appointment. What I didn't know is they would take pointless x-rays of my knee. And I didn't even bring up the x-rays. But, it's like, blast me with some more radiation, Make sure you get, I've had so many x-rays. So, they didn't even tell me that I was going to get x-rays. I just walked in there and they said, well, you're scheduled for x-rays. And I'm like, what? So, they took a bunch of x-rays of my knees. And, yeah. So of course he's telling me like he needs. It's so fucking funny. Um, if you know the name Joseph Heller, you know uh, that's the author of the book Catch 22, which has been criticized for being redundant, which was kind of the whole point of the book anyway. But I enjoyed the book. But Catch 22 is a phrase that was some. I could sum it up if I did research on my videos and actually put effort into them and didn't just do a spontaneous mind stuff type of thing. But you know what a catch 22 is. That's where if you do this, this happens. But if you do this, it's like a catch 22 for me in this instance is I go and talk to Altman and I'm like, I need my records faxed to Cleveland Clinic. And they're like, we don't do that. We can send it to the Cleveland Clinic server. I'm like, okay, do that. So, so they don't fax to Cleveland Clinic. I go to Cleveland Clinic and I tell them, well, I can go to Altman Hospital Radiology and I can get all my tests. And I told him I have every test you can imagine done on my knee. And he said, we don't do things that way. He said, they have to be faxed in. So that's a catch 22. The one hospital says they don't fax stuff to other hospitals. The other hospital says we don't accept anything but faxes. So how that's going to play out, I don't know. I don't know. Now, for my other orthopedic appointment, they just put it on a disc. And then they gave it to me for free. But if they told me if I asked for another disc, it was going to cost me $10 if I asked for another copy of that MRI. So, when I went to this other orthopedics place, they were cool with it being on the disc. But here's another funny thing about it. I don't even know what you would call this. But he was like, the reason why it needs to be facts is I need to know the initial opinion of the person who looked at it. And I'm like, I'm going to the guy for a second opinion. Why do you need why would you need the first opinion if you're going to have a second opinion? If the whole reason I'm going to you or they referred me to you is to get a second opinion, but I can't send it on a disc because it will just be the test, and he wants paperwork with the initial orthopedic people that looked at its opinion who wanted his opinion. So, this is why I don't have any hair. It just all fell out from the world's stupidity. It just wanted to leave. It's like, this world is too stupid. We're leaving. We're just going to jump off of this fool's head. So I'm stuck with this. He's like, I don't know if it's a hematoma or what kind of blood clot it is, and he's like, I don't know what to do about it. And I was like, he's like, what did they say about it? And they said that they hadn't had enough experience with this type of thing, and they wanted to send me to the Cleveland Clinic because they figured that they wanted to send me with somebody with more experience. And then he asked me the question again later on in the appointment, and I made the mistake of saying, well, basically they said that they were out of their depth. And he said, well, if they're out of their depth, it probably means that I'm out of my depth too. And I'm like, who is the nigga with depth around here that I can talk to cut my knee and fix it? It's what's going on in my head, of course. I know better than to act like I feel in those places. Yeah, they have large security people, and I'm just a feeble old feller. And they have large security people, so I can't I just gave you like 5 minutes explaining the stupidity of the situation that I'm in. And I'm sorry about the garbage trucks outside, but it is Friday and it is garbage day for Kimball. But so basically, today was a total waste of time. I went through a bunch of stress. I didn't get any sleep. My stomach was fucked like all night with stress. I went in there. I took a Valium before I left, and then I took a Valium in the office while I was waiting to talk to the guy. And yeah, during the night I had a lot of pain. I thought, well, I'll take a gabapentin and maybe I'll doze back off, because I woke up at like 11:30. I went to sleep at like 9, which was cool. And then I woke up at 11:30, which is uncool, knowing that I have this big deal appointment coming up. So I'm like, just in a zone, weird headspace, and I might have dozed off a couple of times. I don't know. But I didn't have no real sleep. So the problem with that is you're in a great deal of danger right now, because I am you think I talk a lot on these videos? Ordinarily, I am a garrulous, endless fountain of words when I do not have rest and sleep. Because whatever governor or break or whatever is on my vocal cords, it's already asleep. So, yeah. I'm always in a good mood when I'm away from doctors and away from hospitals. But today was, of course, a total waste of time, putting me through misery. I was worried about my heart, too. I took a blood pressure pill, but I swear to God that this is, it's the Cleveland Clinic building, so it's a huge building. So I'm there, and my leg is really messed up, and I'm using like this walker that's got wheels on it now. And so like I'm walking terrible, and my heart's already kicking from nerves, and then I'm walking on top of it. I swear to God, I got on an elevator and I pushed 3. I know I pushed 3. I ended up on floor number 2. Now, luckily for me, I'm like, I am not going to be a fool and just start walking. And I'm looking for the doctor's name on the wall, and I don't see it anywhere. And I'm like, well, it says that the suite 3, it was suite 3A. It says there's a suite 3A over that way, which is in the north building. So I'll start walking that way. So I started walking that way, and I saw signs saying it was the second floor. So I pushed. Now, I am not the most intelligent person in the world, but I can tell the difference between a 3 and a 2. I know I pushed 3, and the elevator put me on level 2. So I got back on the elevator. I got on 3. I'm exhausted when I get in there. And, I had some nice conversations with some people about sports. I actually had a nice conversation with the ride there on the way about music, and a nice conversation about religion and mostly Christianity on the way home. It's like, it's not even that far to Medina from here, I found out. I mean, I left here at 8 o'clock, and I got there like, I don't know, before 9 o'clock, like 8:45. It's like a 45-minute drive. So, and the guy was so nice that was driving me that I was like, you have any gum? And he's like, well, I got this sucker. Because it's around Easter, I guess. And he gave me a sucker, and he, like a doctor or like a dentist used to do. And, I got these bag of sweet tart jelly beans. I was like, oh, these are pretty good, so. But then later on, he said, well, I said, is there any way that I'll be allowed to stop and get some gum? That's very important for me. I got to have gum when I go to the doctor's office to keep me from shooting off my big mouth and to give me something to do while I'm sitting there. And so he's like, no. He's like, they got this whole thing, like, they know all my movements. And he said, but I can stop at a gas station like I'm getting gas. And they won't know the difference. And I can go into the gas station and get you some gum. So he actually bought me gum. Nice guy. And so, yeah, it was something to do, but it does nothing for the horrifying pain in my knee and, the danger of me falling. And nothing is resolved with this knee. And I don't know if anything ever will get resolved with this knee. It's been 4 years. Like I said, I tried to get that stuff done over the phone. I couldn't get it done over the phone. Altman Hospital would not fax the results to Cleveland Clinic of my various tests. I was like, look, dude. I didn't call the doctor dude, of course. But I was like, look. I said, they have every test on my knee. They have EMGs. Wow, that's loud. Get the garbage already, please. I guess I cracked it. I cracked my window. I shouldn't have. I have EMGs. I have X-rays. I have MRIs. I actually have an ultrasound that I saw of the needle going into the actual blood clot in question. I'm like, they have all the information you could ever want. And the guy was like, cool, fax it to me. The problem is Altman Hospital says they don't do that. So how's this gonna work? So anyways, I got my landlord who I have to pretend to like, lined up for a ride doing something else on Monday, and I'm going to ask him to go to Altman Hospital with me and I'm going to talk to him and see what happens, to see if I have a card. And I said, look, he gave me his card, and he said, here's the fax number. And I'm like, I don't see how seeing me in person is going to make any difference. I'm thinking this. I'm not saying it because saying it is pointless. And it's like, well, maybe if I'm there and I show him my ID and it's me, and maybe it's, I talked to my cop friend about it, and he said, well, maybe it's that he didn't understand it. He's been was a cop in some capacity for 43 freaking years. He's like, no, I don't really understand that. And he said, it could be that medical records are a good way to steal somebody's identity. But he doesn't really know, why it was so difficult. It's so difficult for me to just do that stuff over the phone. And then I swear, though, I went in there in person, and they insisted on putting it on a disc. They wouldn't fax it. They just put it on a disc. They wouldn't fax it to this Tri-County from Altman Hospital, this Tri-County orthopedics place that referred me to this Dr. Scarcella guy in Medina that I just got back from. So yeah, this is a living hell. Um, it's like uh, I'm just like getting yo-yoed around, and then they're doing unnecessary appointments, unnecessary tests. I mean, what were the X-rays even about? Did the guy even look at the X-rays? He's like, I can't tell what's what, and it's like, I didn't even ask. I don't even ask when I go to these appointments anymore. It just makes them take longer, and it's pointless, and nothing ever gets done. So I mean, it's just a machine. The medical community is just a machine, and uh, there's that expression about oh shit, I haven't had enough sleep to be clever or interesting. I apologize. About war, like war is a racket. Well, let me tell you something. Medicine is a racket. I mean, I'm just getting sent ping ponged around to these different appointments, having unnecessary tests and x-rays and unnecessary appointments. I'm having appointments where I'm telling the guy that's the doctor that what to he's trying to tell me like I need surgery, but he's dancing around it, and I'm like, yeah, I need surgery, I need an operation. He goes like, yeah, yeah, you actually you do. you know and I just think it's the universe trying to break me. Why the universe is trying to break me, I don't know. It's some kind of cool hand Luke dig that hole, fill that motherfucker back up situation. I don't know why this is happening or why this is going on. There's no logic to it. There's really no reason or logic to look into it for reason or logic, because it's just about money. It's just about them making money. It's not about fixing my knee. I have to go into my regular doctor on Tuesday upcoming, um, you know, and talk to him about it. I think I'm just going to talk to him about getting more gabapentin and, I got to have something for this knee because it hurts. And, I can't do dishes. I mean, I'm in a bad situation because, like, I mean, if the health department got in here in this building, they'd be like, this guy can't take care of himself. So, like, that's why I paid that one dude $10 to clean up the living room that one day, is because I had somebody from Coleman Psychiatric coming in there to talk to me. And I'm like, I want it to look like somebody's living here that can take care of themselves. It's getting to that point. I can't stand long enough to do dishes um, without severe pain. It actually hurts just to stand there at the sink. So I'm in a very difficult spot, and nothing's getting done. And the guy's like, this might not even be something operable. Then what? Then what do I do if it's not operable? I don't know. I feel, yeah, it's sinking in now. It's like I had that euphoric feeling whenever you get home from the doctor's office. I did want a cigarette, but no cigarettes to be had. Um, always want a cigarette when I get out of there. Well, after you get fucked, you always want a cigarette, right? Uh, but maybe that's don't people smoke after sex? That's what I've heard. I got the kava and the chamomile tea bag. I got two tea bags in here. Because kava tea by itself, I don't even know how to describe what it tastes like, but it doesn't agree with my stomach. I used to buy kava meal and chamomile tea mixed together, but um, I used to get them in these inexpensive bags of like 60 or 30 that were like silver foil bags. But now it's like they're way too expensive for me to afford since that company stopped selling them that way. So, you know, it's all the anxiety before the appointment, and I knew there was a lot riding on it, and I had a feeling it would go like this, because I didn't have the MRI for the guy to look at. It might not have made any difference if I had the MRI, you know. But yeah, now I'm in that, like I said, I'm in that catch 22 where they're like, they told me that over the phone anyway, we don't fax records to other hospitals. And this guy's like saying, we don't take anything but faxes from other hospitals. So I'm like, I can get it on a disc and just send it to you, to your address. He's like, no, 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 it's got to be faxed. He's like, because I got to have a first opinion to give you my second opinion. It's like, yeah, it's end madness. I'm telling you. Uh, but yeah, that was a lot of walking around that hospital and pushing that walker around. And that walker is crooked as fuck with the wheels, but it's. I have a short walker that I got from the neighbor guy in a wheelchair because he's a short guy. That's really not good for me because it's made for somebody 5'5" or something. And then I have even adjusted to its tallest height. And then I have this other blue one with the wheels, but it's kind of crooked and dangerous. But it was cool. It kind of had pockets, so I had like juice, and I could put my phone in there, and I put cookies in there, and I put a spare pair of pants and everything. You just put everything in there. I was like, oh, this is like your the deluxe walker with the wheels on the front, and because I did not trust myself to keep from falling, and it's like I'm a big time fall risk all the time. I'm all the time risking getting hurt real bad. So I don't need no an adventure for me is like walking across the living room floor and shutting the window. But anyways, I have to see. Um, I still can't find my bank card, but I don't have anybody here to help me look for it. I don't know where it would be. I'm just going to keep calling my bank and making sure that nobody's abusing it. Then every day, I mean, I suppose they could go on a run with it if it's in the house somewhere here somewhere though. I mean, they could go with a run with it, and I don't know. It's hard for me to care about money. I only care about health. I don't care about money. You don't understand. Well, I don't know why people say insulting things like that. How do I know what you understand? But I mean, I've been poor, poor. I mean, I can remember sleeping on a pile of garbage, damn near. Like there was this room that we had, which is, we had like a house full of pack rats, and I remember sleeping like on a kid's mattress that was on like a pile of garbage. When I was old, it was on like a pile of just miscellaneous garbage. Not like garbage bags, but just like miscellaneous worthless crap. It's like, um, this is really, I grew up in like an insane household, literally an insane household full of insane people. So, um, when my sisters finally moved out, they lived in the upstairs. There was only like a 3 bedroom house, and my kids or my parents just kept having kids. They were supposed to, people tell themselves this, they were going to move when they got a bigger family. They were going to save their money and move into a bigger house, but they were terrible with money, my parents. So that never happened. So we were jamming like 2 and 3 kids in a bedroom, according to sex, of course. And that was the girls' bedroom upstairs. Well, this is this is very hard to believe, but my sister back in the day, in the day of bell-bottom pants, she just went barefoot everywhere. And you got the no shirt, no shoes, no entrance policy, but she would just wear bell bottoms that were so long they covered up her bare feet so nobody could tell whether she was wearing shoes or not. And she would walk around, and you're probably never heard nothing like this before. She would walk around until she had dirt shoes, and then she would peel off the bottom of her feet, and it would be just like caked dirt just from walking around on bare feet constantly, like she never wore shoes. And why, I don't know, but I remember her peeling off her dirt when I was very young, but it stuck in my head that she would peel off like you know, they looked like Bigfoot impression footprints, except for like white molds. It was just dirt. It was just like a dirt footprint that she'd peel off her feet. And anyways, when they moved out, um, we're cramped for space in the house, and I'm like, the whole upstairs is open now. The problem is, they left literally 2 feet of garbage, not just miscellaneous nonsense all over the floor. I mean, you literally could take a snow shovel and like push it across the floor. I mean, it took forever to clean out. It was my idea to clean out the upstairs. It took forever. There was just stuff just piled like ridiculous heights in there. I can't even remember all the stuff that was just piled in there, but it was just, they used to just like make a walkway, I guess, before they moved out and said to fuck with walkways. But, uh, so it was my idea to clean out the upstairs. And then, of course, later my brother just stole it from me when I got, um, ill and couldn't walk when I had one of my surgeries. And then once I learned how to walk upstairs, he was like, I was kind of thinking I was going to have the upstairs to myself. And I'm like, whatever. I don't really want to share a room with this asshole anyway. So then I ended up sleeping in the same room with my dad's funky ass, stinky feet on the couch for a couple of years. Because I don't know. There was one other bedroom in the house, but I don't know if, I think maybe my younger sister was still occupying it, and the two older sisters moved out. I don't know. My memory sucks. But I grew up in total madness. It's a total fucking crazy, crazy household. Um, you know, after my brother committed suicide in 1977, the violence dropped down quite a bit. As far as, we're all terrified of my dad, but, he was an active monster before my brother's suicide, and he kind of changed after that, and he just became more withdrawn. Still scary as hell, the kind of person that would pull out his own tooth without anesthetic and show it to you in a rag. He was still a frightening human being. Sharpening his knife, man, and practicing how quick he could open it up. He could open it up quick because switchblades are illegal. They make knives now that have like little cheater bars on them, stuff that you can open it up real quick, but they didn't make them in his day. So he just had a regular pocket knife that he altered into a real narrow point, and he would just sit there and sharpen that motherfucker all day, probably thinking about cutting people. And like my older sister said about him, she said that her future in her mind was that he was going to kill all of us and then kill himself. That's what she grew up thinking. So, as usual, it's just stream of consciousness stuff. It just goes where it goes. But yeah, tea tastes terrible. I should like crash pretty soon, and just sleep. I didn't sleep last night, and it's rainy and kind of chilly here now. Knee hurts like a bitch, of course, because I was walking on it. And something should be done about that, don't you think? I mean, it didn't hurt 4 years ago. It shouldn't be something I have to live with. I mean, it's not a livable situation. I can't go out. I can't walk on a treadmill with it. I can't walk on it without it causing me a lot of pain. You know, if I stay off of it, it doesn't hurt for a while, but then it starts to hurt almost instantly after taking 100 steps on it. Can't do my dishes. You know, can't even look around my house to find my bank card, which I hope is in the house here somewhere. Um, I don't know. It's just me and the medical community, or maybe it's the medical community itself. Maybe just like War is a Racket, I think is a famous book. The medical community might be a racket too. And they're just passing me around. And they're always nice as can be about it while they ching 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 ring up them bills, get that money. Thank God for insurance. Now, I was thinking about buying my next scooter, and I'm like, uh, the $700 scooter that I bought, the next jump up in scooter is like $1,100. It's a big difference, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to put a whole lot of effort into finding a used one locally. And due to my lack of friends and people that'll help me, maybe if I paid somebody, it might pay somebody to help me. I don't know. Sometimes you can with scooters. Sometimes you can like find them in like a one-eyed type of thing, like find them locally. We had a thing called the mini merchant back in the day. You know that was the local eBay. It was just a paper. I always look through the mini merchant, man, and try to find deals. But the problem is, like with the scooter, is nobody wants to pay those shipping fees except for the large community companies like Medical USA, which is about the $700 scooter off. They have a scooter on there for $1,000 that looks pretty good, but it goes off on April 28th, and I'm not gonna have the money to buy it by April 28th. So, I mean, I'm looking at dropping $1,100 probably. I'm not buying another one of them $700 scooters though, because I'm not an idiot. My phone, somebody's on my phone. Ed calling me for money, of course. I'll play you his message just for the fuck of it. That was the guy that was he's the guy that was here that when that drug mule was here, and I told him, don't give me no fucking bullshit about this, man, and go tell that guy to get the fuck out of here. Where I lost my shit. Let's see what he has. What the hell, man? Let's see what he has to say.
One new message and 3 old messages.
Hey, I just called to see if he's okay over there. If you need anything, give me a holler.
End of messages.
Yeah. See, he's smart. He's calling to see if I need anything, which means he's calling to see if he can do anything that will put money in his pocket. But yeah, I think I'm pretty much done with that household. He's a guy that I don't have much problem with until he brought the drug mule out here. I don't know. I kind of like the guy, but at the same time, it was his phone that disrupted my week, that was ringing off the hook, or that was blowing up my phone. That was from that number after midnight. So, that means that either his significant other stole the phone and was using it, or he was there and let her borrow the phone. So, there's speculation on whether that dude's using crack or not, or whatever. I mean, I don't know. He told me like he tried it before and didn't like it, But yeah, I mean, I'll pay him to do work. I don't give a fuck. I'll pay him to do work. Um, I don't care about that. But um, he's into me for $25 right now, so he's looking to do some work for me. And yeah, he has a forestry job that he either fell through or he can't do. Uh, because I think he kind of likes me too, you know, that we could be friends. Except for the fact that, I don't know, drugs, very serious illegal drugs are involved, and drug mules that I want to kill show up at my house when he's here. I just don't need the aggravation. I thought, yeah, he's smart though. He's cagey. You know, he's gonna help me out, seeing if I need anything. You know, when he's not calling because I need anything. He's calling because he needs something or wants something. It's like, people are stupid. It's like they don't even have the common sense to call and like make conversation, just random conversation, like just mix it up. You know, they just call you to try to get money out of you. Like every time they call you, it's about money. It's like, yeah, that not very sly in that manner. He's very sly about getting me to call him back. But once, if I did call him back, it would be about, you got anything around here to do that I can do so I can take some of your money. Um, I don't know. I don't know, man. This is, yeah. Yeah, I process this kind of stuff, and then, like, you know, I'm always glad it's over with, and then I'm home, no matter how stupid it is. Then I process it, and I realize just how dumb it is, what a waste of time it is, how I was exposed to radiation. No vest, by the way. They don't bother with a vest when they x-ray your legs. They didn't cover up my nuts or anything. Um, so, you know, I had so many millions of x-rays. There's a reason why the technicians wear vests and stuff, or they go off in a room and do the x-rays. Um, but yeah, I don't know what else to say about anything. Um, like I said, I haven't had enough sleep to be clever, and I don't believe in scripting things, um, unless it's something that's like educational. You know, it's educational. It's kind of funny, like the day that I was really depressed, like deeply depressed. I managed to successfully do a chapter of the book that's almost done. And then when I did the Dr. Kevorkian um, video, where like I'm just tired of this. I was like, I don't know why people want people to suffer, you know, and people, you know, talked about like um, whether it's a human right to wave that white flag, which apparently, um, you know, because suicides are botched all the time, and people end up in worse shape than they intended, or they go to take drugs. I've been in a lot of psychiatric units where I've seen people with miscut wrists. My favorite guy of all time, though, man, and I must have told you about this guy before, and I'm sorry about my voice, but one of a kind character. That'll be worth it. Trust me. Now I immortalized this guy in a book that'll probably never be read. And I probably should just read you what I wrote about him in the book. But this is a real guy. He's about 6'8", about way over 300 pounds. Just a giant of a dude. He's got a ligature mark around his neck, like hang him high. You know, where he tried to hang himself. No, this is in which psych unit was this in? I think this was in the Altman psych unit, like many, many years ago. Yeah, this was in the visit when I talked about where it was back in the days when smoking was acceptable thing, and they had a cigarette lighter in the wall, and then you went up, even on the closed side where they only would let you use like plastic sporks and stuff, and they wouldn't let you have drawstrings on your clothes, and everybody was in some weird pajamas and stuff. You could go up to the desk, and they would like pop this cigarette lighter out of the wall, so it was considered a human right to smoke back then. And these people weren't allowed to have like metal eating utensils or drawstrings on their clothes, but they're allowed to have cigarettes, you know, and smoke, you know. But yeah, that was back in those days. But this dude I met, that was the closed side of the ward. That's where you go when you first OD or whatever, or they first pick you up for being a nut job. And then once they find out you're not going to stick your spork in anybody's eye or act like a madman, they think you're stabilized, they send you to an open side of the ward. That's what they call it, the closed and the open. And I met this guy on the open side. Okay, he's 6'8". He's got a ligature mark around his neck that looks like Hang 'Em High with Clint Eastwood, where I think he tried to hang himself, but he didn't tabulate the rope, and the rope broke on him. But I swear to God, he had the ligature mark around his neck like that. He had the sideways cuts on his wrists where he didn't know enough about the longitudinal cut that you need to make if you're gonna bleed yourself out and kill yourself that way. But the capper to the whole thing is he took a large caliber handgun and put it to his heart and just guessed where his heart was and shot himself that way. Instead of shooting himself in the head like a sensible person, he tried to shoot himself in the heart. He survived all that shit. So, that is a scary dude, man. And I'm talking to this dude, and he's like super friendly, and it's creeping me the fuck out. He's like, man, he's trying to give me advice on life and shit. And he's got his hands were like, God, man, it's like giant hands on a 6'8" dude. And he's like, oh man, you gotta know, you can't take life so seriously, man. All the time he's got this ligature mark around his neck, man. Just like Clint Eastwood and Hang 'Em High. He's got the scars on his wrist. And he opens up his gown and he shows me the bullet scar from where he missed his heart when he tried to shoot himself in the heart. And yeah, so that's why you need a Dr. Kevorkian, because there's somebody that knows what they're doing, that knows how to put people out in a proper way. But yeah, that guy was scary. He was scary, and even though he was friendly, he was scary because it's the very friendliness that was creepy. It's like you don't, it don't. I don't know. It was something about the friendliness and the touching you all the time, and like he's all touchy feely, and whew, I got some memories from that hospital stay. Yeah. I was just a young kid when I was in there, because back in the day, they didn't have like a separate ward for like adults and children. They just threw everybody together. So I'm like, I think I was 17 when I was in there, 17-year-old. It's like being thrown in prison, when you're 17. And there was a guy in there that was threatening to rape me. I remember that. But yeah, he never got around to it because I scared the living shit out of him because he didn't know who he was fucking with. But yeah, briefly what happened there is like that was my guy, that was my roomie. I'm a 17-year-old kid, He was probably just joking, and I said something about having a knife under my pillow. Like I got like a fucking 6-inch knife under my pillow, and he's like, yeah, well, I got a 6-inch something else in my pants. Shit like that was being talked. Damn well I don't have no knife in a psych ward. and I'm having to sleep in the same room with this guy. You know, I didn't do a whole lot of sleeping. This guy's talking about raping me all the time. So, anyways, because I had my back surgery and stuff, I kind of have an off switch on my back. You know, like Data on the old Star Trek had an off switch. Well, if you hit me in a certain spot on my back, it does something to the nerves in my legs and I just collapse. So I'm playing pool in the rec room and he's like, man, that was a good shot. He like smacked me in the back a couple of times hard and he hit the off switch and I fell. And as I fell, I reached up and I grabbed him by like the shoulder, but I caught his gown and I just ripped it off of him, you know. And he was like thinking prison terms and getting beat up and shit. And he's like, he went after me, you know. And the big black dudes in the white coats came over and stuff, you know. And after that, I just went mad ass on him, man. And I just would stare him down and just look at him like I wanted to kill him, like that. And it was over. He was completely intimidated after that. I have no idea why, you know. He thought I was going after him, but I was actually just falling and just reached up and grabbed a hold of the back of his gown and just ripped his gown off. You know, he thought I was attacking him, but after that, I would just look at him like I wanted to skip rope with his intestines. And, you know, I had him totally intimidated after that. There was no more talk about 6-inch knife, 6-inch things in his pants and stuff like that. You know, because he was just probably, you know, wasn't going to do any of that crap. He was just probably like having fun fucking with a kid. But then, you know, I turned the tables on him. And, you know, every time I saw him, man, I stared him down and I made him look away. And I wouldn't stop looking at him. And I would just keep staring at him, you know, and it was freaking him out. And he would just like pace around. He'd leave the room and shit. And, yeah, that was just a weird, that happened in the, both those guys were in the same psych unit. Psych unit's was not a place to be back in the day, and it was even worse in the 70s, you know. But I mean, back in the day, they didn't really know what they were doing. I mean, they were throwing like teenagers in with like I said, I was a 17-year-old sleeping next to some guy in his late 30s, you know, in the same damn room. You know, they're throwing underage people in with, there was younger people than that in there too. It was fucking nuts. They didn't have like a child adolescent ward and like, you know, in later places that I went to, like Cleveland Clinic Psychiatric Unit, they had, I think, an adolescent psychiatric unit. I don't remember adults being in there, you know, but that was an Altman, and they just threw everybody together. But yeah, just another chapter, just another sordid chapter in a sordid life. But it was just funny that the guy thought that I was going to do something to him when actually I was just falling because he hit me in the back, and I had them back surgeries, and I have an off switch like Data, the robot, and if you hit me in the back in a certain place, man, it sends like electrical like shocks through my legs, and I collapse. And I was collapsing, and I just reached up and grabbed the hold of his shoulder to try to like steady myself, and just ripped the whole fucking shirt off of him and the gown thing. And then like he freaked out because he thought I was trying to go after him, and he was like, "Man, he went after me," because all the security came after him. But I'm doing that horrible thing that people do where they just told you a story and then repeat it over again. But you know, it's memories like that that keep me going. They give me comfort on those long, dark nights of the soul, like last night, or hard days like today, where you drive, 45 minutes one way, or 90 minutes total, for no apparent reason whatsoever, to find out that the one place that doesn't accept faxes wants a fax from this other place that accepts faxes. So how that's going to play out, I don't know. I don't know. My life has always just been too stupid and crazy and full of madness to even, yeah, for me to even remember. I don't even that's only the stuff that I can remember, you know? I'm sure there's like shit that I don't even fucking remember that was just, that's lunacy. Um, yeah. I hadn't thought about that in years, you know? That whole thing about that dude threatening to rape me and being thrown into a um, psychiatric unit where I had to sleep next to a guy that was threatening to rape me. And I don't remember all. I haven't thought about that for years and how that all turned out. You know, I do remember that thing about like I got a 6-inch knife underneath this pillow. Guy knew I was full of shit, and he said, like, "I got a 6-inch something else in my pants." And anyway, I'm like, should have said, I'm not sure that's something you want to be bragging about because I think that's pretty average. But yeah, I remember talking to people like in a Cleveland clinic in like 1990 and telling them some of my stories, and they were like, "Well, at least you know it makes you an interesting person." And I'm like, I would like to be more boring. I would prefer to be more boring and not have interesting stories. And yeah, as far as like writing them all down in a book, I remember like if I could recommend it, it's on actually YouTube. Stephen King on writing, like where he has only broken memories of his childhood too. And one of his earliest memories is he saw a strong man at a circus, so he was going to be a strong man, and he lifted up a cinder block when he was very, very little. And unfortunately for him, the cinder block contained a nest of stinging insects. So he got attacked by a hive at a very young age. Another one of his earliest memories is like um, having multiple ear infections and how they would lie to him about the amount of pain involved and like yeah, the whole like Stand By Me thing with the train. This is really interesting and weird. Is Stephen King was actually went out with a friend and came back as a child, and he claims he doesn't remember any of it, but the kid was killed by a train. You can look that up. That's true. And you know that's part of Stand By Me, the movie, you know, and the book I think. Though I read the book and saw the movie, but everybody remembers the movie because of the visual image of them being stuck on the tracks and stuff. But he claims he doesn't remember any of it. He claims like he was just came wandering home and was confused, and I don't remember if he said he was crying or not. But I do recommend that on writing thing because it has like a biography section. If you're not interested in writing, there's like a biography section about Stephen King. And it's like, yeah, I can relate to that. That's my childhood. It's all like broken pieces and like a shattered landscape of confused events that I can never keep straight. You know, when did this happen? How I can remember like fairly vividly the various things that happened, but when and you know who and some of the details, you know, like get lost about things. I'll never forget that lighter in the wall though. I thought that was insane. I was like, okay, you don't want nobody to have anything in here, but you'll give them something that they can just go over to the next guy and brand his face with, you know, because it's like a bunch of zombies and you know they don't allow you to have drawstrings on your clothes or any kind of weaponry or anything like that, but it's a God-given right in the motherfucking early '80s to smoke. So Got to have your cigarettes, even if you're, even if you got to eat with a spork and they don't give you drawstrings in your clothes because they're worried about you garroting your neighbor. But that's what I was thinking when I was watch that process, because you had to go up to a desk, you had to tell them that you wanted to smoke, and produce your cigarette, and then they pushed a button, and then it was just like a car lighter. It would pop out when it got hot, and you pulled it out, and you lit your cigarette, and then you put it back in. But it was to keep you from taking that thing and going over to somebody, like I said, and giving them the mark of Cain on the forehead instead of lighting a cigarette. Um, yeah, yeah, that stuff seems unbelievable now. And I told that story before about there was like somebody freaking out that was a smoker, 'cause he didn't let him smoke. Like when I was this is 2 Januaries ago, when I was in a psych unit, and this was about January, February, March. This was 2 months before I started withdrawing from benzos. Um, uh, she was just freaking out about not having a cigarette, and I said, "You probably don't want to hear this, young lady, but back in the day," and I told her the thing about the cigarette in the wall. She was like, "Son of a bitch," just looking at me in amazement. It was like, couldn't believe it. It's like, not only did they let you smoke in the hospital, they let you smoke when you was crazy out of your mind on psychotropic drugs. That's when you were suicide. There was people walking around there with their eyes like wandering eyes, and scary looking zombie motherfuckers walking around in there. Oh, Jesus. As far as back to the present and reality, and the reality of this knee, I don't know what the hell I'm ever, if anything, going to get done with it. I don't see how I can live with it or rehabilitate it. They're claiming it could be a hematoma, it could get reabsorbed. I'm like, come on. It's been 4 years on this fucking thing. 4 years I've had problems with this knee, and it just keeps getting worse. And my legs just keep getting weaker. I couldn't even stand right. They wanted me to bend my legs and shit for the x-ray standing up. And it's like I couldn't even do that right. And, it's not, I don't know. I just want something done. I mean, it could be a hematoma, and your body could just reabsorb it. And I'm like, yeah, that's where I've had this for months. How long does this reabsorption process take out? It was March 7th when they told me I had the blood clot. I don't know how long the blood clot was in there. Now it's April 19th. It's a month. Imagine like having um, little demonic minions inside your knee, stabbing it and poking it for a month and 2 weeks. What that would be like, you know. Who knows how long it was before then. It's just been a nightmare. It's got me to the point where I'm like house ridden, and then, you know, my situation is I'm trying to hang in there. You know, I have my good days, and I have my Dr. Kevorkian talking days. And I still have enough pills here to kill 2 people and a horse. But the truth of the matter is I find life amusing. I am very fond of myself. And I'm almost finished with my audiobooks. And I enjoy baseball. I enjoy peace and quiet. I do not get a lot of it. One more thing I might as well add to my usual hour plus video is that there was a blowout monster fight between my second cousins. You know, the PTSD guy that served in the Afghan war that's taken over the apartment from the other person. Where he started saying, "Hit the road, Jack, and don't come back no more, no more, no more," in the middle of the argument. You know, So I was like, I think he's the one that's taking over the apartment. I mean, but she's screaming, he's yelling, then he starts singing to her, and you know, I texted Roy, and I'm like, "Are you hearing this?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then I'm like, I complained. I said, I'm gonna go ahead and complain to shoot a text to the landlord Gerald about it. And I did, and he says, "Is it still going on?" And I'm like, "Well, not now, but I had my shooter's earplugs in because I was reading my book, and I have to put shooter's earplugs in to keep from being distracted by the noise in here while I'm reading my book." And I said, "It's nothing but noise upstairs." And he was like, "What's the matter with Michelle?" And there's a video on here of what it sounds, what her walking sounds like. And so I wrote back, "What do you mean, Stampy?" with a question mark, you know. And I said, and there's a bunch of kids running up there around up there too. Like yesterday, I had my window open on the porch, and there was kids being smacked and crying, and there's kids' toys all over the freaking porch and everything. And none of this stuff, none of these people are on the lease. But that's like a gray area, you know, like like they're guests. Okay, a guest can be someone that's here, um, you know, 6 days a week, you know. And so I'm just hearing kids running around, and I was really like, I was like, I should call the police or something, because I was up last night and I was hearing boom, 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 a bunch of running around and stomping around above me, you know. It's like, um, yeah, I don't have anybody really to help me, so, but I would just move and leave all my stuff here because I'm not really attached to material things. I would take a few of my things out of here, but I just leave this place. If I had somewhere else to go, I would just leave this place, never come back, and take my guitars, take that air conditioners, because air conditioners are good things to have. It works. Take my little heater. Uh, the thing of it is like I don't have a lot of money, so this bed needs replaced anyway. I was thinking I could just leave the bed. It's harder than fuck to move anyway. It's ridiculously heavy. And TV, I don't even give a fuck about that TV. I give that to somebody. Got plasma TV. I just watch everything through the computer anyway. I'm trying to think about anything outside this room that I might want to take with me. My printer. I could leave here without taking very little possessions. If I could find a place, you know. But then I'd have to find a place. If you find a place that's set up for apartments, they have like concrete, like almost like bunkers built around there, because I was in one of those places, and unless those people cranked their stereo up to 11, you didn't hear shit. You never heard nobody stomping around upstairs or heard noises, and like my landlord don't give a shit, but I'm hearing noises that sound like people dragging furniture across the floor all the time up there, and I'm like, what the fuck is that? You know, not to mention just the people stomping around and running around and the loud voices, and now they're going to be porch people, you know, and that's further. Yesterday I got the double play because I had the kids out on the porch, and I had the window open just to let in fresh air, and I had people stomping around upstairs, and I had the kids out on the porch carrying on, and one of them had to get smacked and cried for a while. And I'm like, yeah, this is not doable. You know, it's just not doable. Just either fix my knee or get me the fuck out of here. And I'll leave this place trashed. You know, I have to pretend like I like my landlord, that like I'm on good terms with him, but I hate that motherfucker. You know, because he don't give a fuck, and that sanctimonious fake Christian bullshit makes me want to strangle him. You know, it really does, because he does not give a fuck. If he all he cares about is getting paid, man. And that's why when I found out these people upstairs were on Stark Metropolitan Housing, this shit's getting paid for by the government, I know I was fucked. And like, this is a repeat, but like, same as the meth house that was upstairs. The meth house that was upstairs was getting paid for by a government agency, and he wanted me to get along with the guy that, some guy named Clint that took over the apartment. Even after Clint cleaned out the apartment by throwing garbage bags in the hallway across from my door, which is pretty close to the guy in the wheelchair's door, and just let straight up garbage rot in the heat for like 3 days, to where I'm in 90-degree weather, to where I'm open up in the door and I feel like I'm in the middle of a garbage dump, you know. And then his dad comes out, and his dad wants to pick through the garbage barehanded, and I wouldn't let him. I was like, man, you go out in the truck and you get gloves. You don't know what's been going on here, because people spike, people, there was mattresses on the floor when that place turned into a flop house up there. They just had like mattresses laying on the floor, which seems more indicative of a heroin trade, like people just, but really it was probably just like, a flop house, and people were doing meth. I don't know what meth does to you. I thought it hypered you up. I mean, I don't know. I know you don't sleep a lot when you're on it, so I don't know anything about meth, but I know that somebody went up there and opened the door and looked around inside there, and that I know, and she was like, man, that place, there's garbage all over the place. There's 3 mattresses just laying on the floor. Looks like a shooting gallery to me. And I'm like, well, that sounds about right. And I didn't go up there myself because my leg was fucked up even back then, and steps were hard. And I didn't go back. I didn't go up and look, but I'll take her word for it. And so even after all that, he cleaned it up. And my landlord was trying to get me to convince, just because it's automatic money, he's trying to convince me to live with a drug kingpin up there. The only time the guy locked the door is when they had the police raid on the meth house. Then shortly after the police raid on the meth house, he was like, there's just too much drama going on in this building. I don't think I'm going to be living here anymore. Which is code for, I'm getting the fuck out of Dodge, man. The cops are onto this shit. But yeah, I remember that conversation, and I understand these are repeats, but I was like, he's like, yeah. My landlord was like, yeah, I talked to him. He seemed like a reasonable guy, and he seems pretty nice, because he just doesn't care who lives here. And he's like, I'm like, what's the guy's name? Clint? What's his last name? I don't know. And he's like, yeah, he just seems like a nice guy, He's like, he should be okay. And I'm like, does he have a job? Yeah, he said he had a job. I was like, well, where does he work? I don't know. He didn't give a fuck, because it doesn't matter if he's got it. If that was getting paid by a taxpayer, he'd care that where he worked and what job he had and whatnot, or what his source of income was. But that was already getting paid for up there, so he didn't give a fuck who lived up there. After that, it's like I was done with him. I was like, after last summer and the way he handled the meth crap, it's like I'm stupid in that I put up with like all the horrible tenants that he had living here before then. But once, that happened last summer, it's like I was done with him. But then my knee just kept getting worse and worse, and then, I'm not exactly a rich person. It takes money to move. I got a little, like I said, I got a little spendthrifty there, stupidly. I could start selling my shit and raise money to move, maybe, and get a little bit of my sanity back, as far as like being able to leave my room and not making hour-and-a-half videos to kill time. And I don't know how my audiobook's going to come out, but I have only 3 chapters left to do on it. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time like putting pictures up. I did that with the forward of it. Maybe I'll put that up to give you an idea of the forward. I did that with the forward of it because they were talking about real places. Because the thing about this book, The Last Algonquin, is that you know to some degree that it's true. You just don't know to what degree that is true. So they're talking about real places like the Varian House. So I found a picture of the Varian House and I put it up there. Talking about the Bronx River. Find a picture of the Bronx River and put it up there. They're talking about Pelham Bay Park. Find that. Sunken Forest. You find that. But you can't do that for a whole book. So plus it gets in the way of like the whole point of a book is like you can see it in your own way. You can see it makes you have your own personalized like mind picture of what's going on in there, and that's a little bit different than a movie. In a movie, Meryl Streep's gonna look like Meryl Streep, but in a book, it's a little different. It's a little different. So like putting up pictures of this is how it looks. It's kind of like not a book thing, but I don't like leaving just a black screen. Or like you look at some stuff on here audiobook wise and they just put a cover of the book, but I was like, why not put a couple of pictures up? You just don't get carried away. Don't try to make like a slideshow, like try to make a movie without the moving pictures. But I did that for the forward because uh, it was all real places. It's all real places that I could find. And yeah. And forward's boring anyway. So, then once the way the book is set up is like you have book one, and then book one is has a very boring chapter in it, and it's like the second chapter, but it's important the way it's written. Like sometimes the boring parts of something are just as important as the more interesting parts of it. But once you get into the main character's life, man, for me anyway, it's riveting. I mean, yeah, it's just an amazing story. I don't like the ending. I think the ending. I'll save my thoughts about the ending for when it's done. But I don't like the ending, and I don't like the way it ends. But it's just an amazing piece of work. And yeah, I bought some other books that are short, like A Day No Pigs Would Die. I had to read that in school. That's really super short. It has a lot of dialogue in it. So, I can fumble through like trying to make different voices for people. And, I have things that I like to do. I gain some enjoyment out of life. It's just like I have an unlivable situation living in this building, and I have an unlivable situation living in this body. But I have peace of mind. I like myself. I enjoy things. I have moments. I like peace and quiet, which I don't get. I like not to be in great amount of pain. Call me a weirdo, but I don't like being in a great amount of pain. I don't like not being able to take care of myself and walk. I like the idea of walking and not living in fear with every step that you're gonna twist an ankle or sprain a knee or fall and twist your arm or bust your elbow. I like the idea of that. I can remember that. I was talking to the doctor today, and he was like, "Is this something you've always had?" And I said, "Listen, doc, 10 years ago, I could ride 30 miles on a bicycle and walk 5, no problem." And I was like, "This is all new, you know." So this is all like new territory for me as far as like moving to this particular city. Utter disaster, big mistake. I had no idea how big a mistake. It's just because I didn't know. It's probably my own naivete, and it's like my one therapist says, is like you expect too much out of people, but it's like moving here is how I got hooked on benzodiazepines. Moving here, and part of how I got hooked on benzodiazepines is when I moved here, I found out things about people that maybe You know how things look better from a distance, and how absence makes the heart grow fonder. I think it was kind of that sort of thing. Like once I was around this particular person all the time, I was like, I don't really know this individual. This isn't the individual that I grew up with. I'm like who is this person? And then that contributed to my that and the situation with my parents contributed into my personal carelessness about I have to take I before that I took pretty rigid care of myself as far as my CRPS, but then from like I said, from the last 5 years, complete disaster. And I still don't have any resolution, any surgery date. So I have to go on with my life as far as like I need to go to the eye doctor. Um, I need to get an eye exam and make before I buy contacts. It's stupid to buy contacts with my whole prescription. I need to see if I can find a pair of glasses that I like. And I know you can buy them online, but I don't know the prescription strength that I need. I need like an eye exam, so I have to get the prescription. I have to get the eye exam first and get the prescription strength, and then I guess you can just buy glasses online for like cheap. And you know, yeah. So life goes on. I'm just gonna have to stop waiting for my knee. I've been waiting. I've just been waiting for that surgery and waiting to like build my life around that surgery. You know what I mean? Like, okay, this is the date of my surgery, so I can schedule this appointment here, and I'll be okay. I can schedule this appointment here and whatnot. I have to forget all that, and I just have to move on. I have to walk on my painful, hideous leg and go to dental appointments, go to doctor appointments, go to eye appointments, and I just have to move on with my life because nothing is happening as far as my knee. I've been trying, if you follow me and actually listen to these damn things, I've been trying to do something about my knee like forever. It's not like I'm not trying to do something about this, which really frustrates me when I talk to a certain relation of mine who has problems but does nothing about them and complains about them to me. You know, it's like these are fixable things. He don't listen. You know, he don't listen. Anyways, I think my voice is about hoarse. I should be asleep. I had like I said, I had a volume before I left the house. I had a volume while I was waiting on the doctor. I mean, it was, except for talking to the doctor and the nurse, it was a pleasant trip. The guy there was super nice that drove me there. Good conversationalist. I had nice conversations with the people there. There was a couple of cute little girls in there that one of them had like a purple cast, and they kept smiling at me. And I said, well, you got a purple cast. Back in my day, we only got one color, and that's white. And you know, um, there was no creep factor there. I was actually allowed to talk to kids, which being an older white male. But I'm not threatening, you see, anymore because I'm pushing around a walker and can barely walk. And I had a chance to be nice to people and say nice things and like tell that girl that she was a brave little girl for walking in there by herself. And when she had her x-ray or went into radiology for her arm or whatever, and then I said something nice. I just like the human interaction sometimes. The problem is the humans that I got to interact around here, I don't like them motherfuckers. Don't like them very much, It's like I got nothing to say to Stampy or any of her people because every fucking day they got to know they're making insane amounts of noise and there's two crippled people down here. who maybe don't want to hear all that, you know. And even the guy in the wheelchair over there, he said, "Well, yeah, I'm hearing it. I'm figuring it out now because when the apartment above me was vacant, part of your apartment, part of the apartment above you is actually over, just a little bit over my apartment." And he's like, "Yeah, I can hear the stamping and stuff that you're talking about." And the people that live beside the people up here, um, they're like, the noise is incredible that comes from there. So, you know, how can you not know that? You know, I told the landlord about it, and the landlord can talk to him. I said it doesn't matter, nothing can be done about it, which really means you're not going to do anything about it. It doesn't really matter. I mean, it's guaranteed money. Why do you want to fuck with it? But he's going to lose me. I'm a good tenant. He's going to lose me because me and him are parting ways because I can't stand the guy no more. And that's an hour and 21 minutes. Hope it wasn't too boring. Those of you who listen, and I thank you for putting up with my tired, rusty-voiced ass. I got a cookie. I want to eat me a cookie because I feel like I earned it. And life goes better with a cookie. And I'm going to say goodbye. And hopefully, like I said, hopefully I try to be entertaining. I try to not be too redundant. And I realize that sometimes I'm pretty grim. And I feel like I have reason to be. But it is what it is. You're going to get what you're going to get, you know. So, I don't know. I guess I feel like I should thank you for listening if you listen to this far. Because even though I'm not receiving any particular remuneration for it, I do get some satisfaction out of the fact that people are willing to listen to me talk. Because imagine just listening to somebody talk for an hour and 22 minutes. Now, that is a high compliment to me, that if you made it this far through this video. And so, for that, I thank you. And you'll be hearing from me if I have anything else interesting to talk about, or if things get to be a bit too much. I'm still going to try to hang in there, catch 22 or no catch 22, and continue this bullshit called life that makes no goddamn sense to me. But they haven't come up with any alternative to life, so besides that one thing. So, you know, I have a friend that says any day above ground is a good ground. No, any day above ground is a good day. And I feel like smacking him in the fucking head when he says that shit. I wonder how he feels about that now that he's old and decrepit. But he always used to say that to people. Any day above ground is a good day. It's like, man, are you full of shit? All right. That's a horrible note to end on. Goodbye.